the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known. Would have kept me from what I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known. Would have kept me from what I had today. Everywhere I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve.
Good morning, Robertson County. What you doing? This is 1100 WSG. I'm U-Turn LaVern, and this is One Street Over. Welcome to it. Welcome to another beautiful week. Fall, kinda. I mean, it's going up to 75. You know, I try to remember to, open the phone and check the forecast in the morning, depending on what I need to wear. Because, I'm one of these, I like to wear my Choco sandals. And some days it's just not appropriate. It's a little bit too cold out there. But, I mean, it's looking like 75 degrees today. And, I hope you got out and enjoyed this weekend. Oh, my goodness. It was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, we have what we call family day with my family, my kiddos. If you're familiar with my crew, we live just a couple of miles from here, just down at the end of Lawrence Lane. And we've been just very blessed to live right on the creek with the hills and all of that. And we just try to kind of bring our kids back together. We go for it once a month. If you don't do that intentionally and you've got adult kids, and I hear so many adults talk about, I never see my kids, I never do that. And it's tough. And if you're a boy mama, you really know what I'm talking about. But you have to be intentional. You have to be flexible. And, that's something that I've learned to do better. And I'm very thankful for that. And we may talk a little bit about the reason why I've learned to do that better here in a minute. But we have our kids, we try to get them all together. We didn't get to spend time with our one that's out in Jackson with his bride because they're about to have a baby just weeks away. And, especially when it's your first, you don't want to get too far away from what your plan is for delivery, because what if you go early, So we missed Caleb and Rachel in anticipating another. I'm going to have a fourth grandchild. This will be my third grandson. We got one girl. Girls are not real popular in our family. We just don't have very many of them. But we got our little wild child, Anderson, and it was so funny. I'll have to put some video up later because the weather was nice enough that we were able to mess around in the creek a little bit. And at one point, that little pistol, she was just in the middle of the water, just stomping, having a big time. She's 3. And so if you can just imagine that visual, it was just the best time on Saturday. We had so much fun. It was a good day. And so I hope you had something like that. And then yesterday, our congregation, oh my goodness, I love my Madison Church family, my Madison Church of Christ family. I've been there since 1989, and we have this just amazing Hispanic congregation. And we're so blessed because we have this opportunity to, we're so blessed because we have this beautiful chapel that we call, it is Bixler's Chapel. And we have this, chapel that we're allowed, that we can let them go and worship in, and so they have a church service while we're having church, and it's wonderful because we just have this wonderful family, and I guess because we go to Mexico every year, we're even closer to them, and we need to be more intentional about it. It's so funny because we'll have a trip to Mexico, and I know Paul Rainey's on here, and he can speak to this as well because him and Mary go with us every year. But we'll go and we'll travel with some of them from the Hispanic congregation, and then we stay close for a little bit, and we interact when we see each other. But then we kind of get out of the habit of doing that. And so we have to be intentional about getting the congregations together. And so they did every year now, we're doing this thing where we get together out in the park, and the different folks that come to the Hispanic, it's a lot of different Latino communities and countries and things like that. And so we had Peruvian food, we had Mexican food, we had Honduran food, we had all kinds of stuff yesterday that the Hispanic congregation, the Latino congregation brought and put out for us, and it was fabulous. And we had so much fun, and they had dancing, and it was and the weather was just spectacular. And so, we were down on the lake, and I don't know, I hope you had some experiences like that. And if you don't have experiences like that, you're thinking, well, I don't have anybody in my yeah, the food was delicious, wasn't it, Paul? And I didn't see Paul there. It was so funny. I was there, and I kept looking for him, and I kept missing him, but there was a passel of people, and I ended up having to leave earlier than I wanted to because I'm a teacher, and my husband and I have curriculum we needed to work on, and we had to get home and get some stuff done for school for today. So we didn't get to stay quite as long as we would have liked to, but it was just a wonderful time and just beautiful, beautiful weather. And I can't say enough about, if you do not have a faith community, guys, find one. And I know people will talk about, I'm involved with Celebrate Recovery, and we just had our 2-year anniversary at Madison, and we had the 3-year anniversary at Epiphany back, about a month ago, I guess, maybe 6 weeks ago. And I tease everybody because, a couple of my friends from Epiphany came up for my for the 2-year anniversary that we had at Madison, and that was so special. And our preacher, we have a new preacher at Madison, Michael Ross, and he came down to visit, and I introduced my friends from Epiphany as my crazy cousins, because y'all know Madison's my family, and then I got my crazy cousins up here at Epiphany, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of 2 communities of faith. I stopped in at the Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center Chili Challenge on Thursday night, and I'm going to have to get on to my girls from Greenbrier. I thought that my Greenbrier FFA team, that they would be out there cooking and challenging. So I went in there looking for them, and they didn't get there this year. So we'll have to see if we can't make sure that we get represented there again next year. But I did run into the Hope Center guys. So I got to love on them, and they're part of our community there at Epiphany. And so I've got all these wonderful communities of faith that I'm a part of. And if you don't have that, man, you don't know what you're missing. You really don't, guys. I just can't say enough about it. And it's just a beautiful thing. So if you have not found a place, I invite you to come be a part of the things we got going on at Epiphany. I invite you to come be a part of what we have going on at Madison Church of Christ. I know that's a little bit of a drive from here, but we got some beautiful things happening. I've got several people who I've encouraged that y'all need to come hear Michael. He is got a lot to say, and kind of in the same lines of where I'm at, because he's been doing a series about standing on the shoulders of giants, and how that, we've got to remember the people of faith that came before us. They have taught us so much. And isn't that true? We have so much that we are so thankful for and grateful for, and just, our the blessings that we have as a community of faith that we can worship free and we can do all the things that we do because so many have come before us. But we also, when we stand on the shoulders of the giants, there are things we can see from a different perspective. And we have to go, oh my goodness, I didn't see that. Did y'all see that? And as you look across the way, you see things differently. And you're like, oh, I never seen that before. I talk a lot about the different people who I study with, and I'll unpack what's going to go on here in just a minute this morning, but I've just got a lot on my mind. One of the people who I have been studying is Ray Vanderlaan, Marty Solomon, Chrissy McClellan, so many that have really helped me dig into the Bible from a Middle Eastern perspective. And Bill Jones, you too. I had called Bill Jones about coming in this morning, and he is unavailable. What happened this morning? Lacey Bew was planning on being here to talk about the concert series with Willow Oak. She had, they had some problems at the house. Some heat went out. She's got kids. So it's just, she can't get here today. So I told her, I said, that's okay. I've got stuff on deck that I can always use. But then I also thought I had Aaron Slate coming in at 7:30 because I had been talking to him. He would normally come in this Wednesday. Well, I moved him because I've got Steve Hemphill is going to be in town this week, guys. We're going to be talking more about, I think he's going to be at Flu Ellen tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's at Flu Ellen either tomorrow night or Wednesday night. I forget which one. So I'll check it out here in a minute. Lee Marie's got some information on that. But Steve Hemphill, if you're not familiar with him, he is a spiritual warfare guy. And it's fascinating, just the stuff he's got going on. Dear friend. And he's going to be here with us for the full hour on Wednesday from 7 to 8. And so I asked Aaron, I said, well, can I move you to the Monday slot? And in my mind, I wanted him here today at 7:30, but I told him next Monday. So he's going to come in Monday at 7, and then I've got Chief Head coming in at 7:30 next Monday. Well, what ended up happening, we ended up with the hour open at the last minute. I realized we had a full hour open, and I told Lee Marie, I said, well, if you've got somebody that wants to come in and talk, send them on in, but otherwise I've got all kinds of things I can share with you. But that's what's good. That's what's going on this week. I've got tomorrow, Billy Vogel is going to be in because we moved him. We're just shuffling everybody. I think that's why I've got the calendar all mixed up in my head, but Billy Vogel normally comes in the Tuesday after the commissioners meeting, county commissioners meeting, but he's coming in tomorrow because we had to get the Croatians in last Tuesday because they've headed out of town. They left town last night, is my understanding. So we only had one opportunity to bring them in. And so then like I said, we've just been shuffling the deck around, but Mayor Vogel will be in tomorrow. Steve Hemphill will be in for the full hour on Wednesday. We've moved Aaron to Monday. We got Chief Head coming in Monday. Of course, Kerry Roberts, this is Kerry Roberts' slot. And he had something going on, couldn't come in on fourth Monday. So we've moved him to Halloween. Isn't that appropriate to have Senator Kerry Roberts in on Halloween? But anyway, that's what we've got going on. And then all the normal stuff too. Rachel Culver will be in here on Friday. We got United Way back in on Thursday. Maybe we'll see if we can get Lacey Bew in here to unpack the Willow Oak stuff on Thursday morning at 7. But that's what we've got slated for One Street Over. But again, if you're just joining us, I'm U-Turn LaVern. This is what we do 7 to 8 a.m. Monday through Friday to let you know what's going on in the community around us. And we've got several things we're going to talk about this morning, including some of the things I've already mentioned. But I was telling Lee Marie, I said, if you've got somebody that can slide in here, that's great. But I said, man, I've got so many things on my mind that I would love to share. And part of that is this study that I've been doing. And I have been just deep in study doing this Marty Solomon stuff with Bema. I talk a lot about this. If you have not discovered the Bema podcast, BEMA, that is the name of it, and Bema Discipleship. He's on the 8th season now. I think this started in 2016 or 17, but it is fascinating. And some of the things that he has shown me, He said, if you look at what you know from only one perspective, you're missing so much. And they use an illustration. I don't think it was his. I think he shared it. May have been Ray Vanderlaan's illustration, but I love it because it says he talks about if you are looking in a window. I'm in a house-like structure, and if I were to stand and look in just the windows, on the front of this house and the front of this building where the radio station is officed, if I look straight in, I'm going to see some things. And if that's all I'm looking at, I may think that's all there is inside that building, right? But if somebody comes up and says, hey, come here, I want to show you something else. And they take me by the hand and they take me around the back and I look in the windows from the other side of the house, I'm going to get a completely different perspective. That doesn't mean that what I saw on this side of the house is wrong. It's still there. But then when I go around the back of the house and I look in it from a different angle, I see something completely different that I didn't know was there. And that is something that I am learning about biblical study. And it's so funny. Sometimes my students will ask me questions because they know I work in ministry, and I'll always I'll always clarify. I'm like, you're asking, right? Because I can't get in there and preach at my kids. I wouldn't do that. It's not my place. But when they ask, I can't answer. And so we got into a deep conversation about other religions and things like that. And I told myself, if you want to keep having this conversation, I said, I'm fine doing that. But I said, now understand, I may convince you that that what you're talking about is not accurate. And I said, I've been studying this stuff so deeply. And I said, I'm fascinated by all of it. And I said, it has really changed my perspective. Well, the kids got to asking me about my understandings of what hell was. And it was a fascinating discussion, but and a lot of the stuff that's opening up these conversations with my students at school is that we are building podcast, and the kids are loving it, and I'm excited for what they're doing. And some of it's just nonsense and fun. What we've already posted is just silliness, and if it's okay for me to share it on my social media, I will. But I want to ask the students first. I've given them the links and let them share it as they want to. But some of the stuff that they've shared so far is just kind of silly. But we've got some history stuff. I've got one group that's working on a history podcast about World War II that's fascinating, and some of them are interested in doing some things on religion. And I'm like, I believe that's okay if it's you initiating it, And we've just got all kinds of little things we're working on, but it opens up conversations with these students that I don't think I would have otherwise, because they start asking questions about what they want to talk about and what they want to do. And it's fascinating. I tell them all the time, I said, I know so many people, they give you this dire prediction of, the world is just falling apart. It's this, it's that. No, it's not. It's beautiful. And if you choose to live in kingdom, guys, you can. And it's a choice you have to make. And that's where my head is right now. And there's more that we'll talk about. But I tell you what, this is probably a good place to pause. And Lee Marie did clarify the Steve Hemphill talk that he's going to do is at Fluellen this Wednesday night at 6:30, not Tuesday night. And maybe she can answer whether or not they're going to be somewhere Tuesday night, because I know she was looking for something. I'm not sure. I'm not even going to say. But Lee Marie, let me know if he ended up booking somewhere on Tuesday night, because they were looking for that. I wasn't much help because Tuesday and Wednesday nights are my CR nights. I'm up here we're at Epiphany on Tuesday nights, and then we're at Madison Church of Christ for CR on Wednesday night. Anyway, we'd love to have you come be a part of that. They both start with a meal at about 5:45, and then you have a large group at 6:30, and then open share at 7:30. That's the structure of Celebrate Recovery. And, I talk about I kind of started out talking about my family and how when you're a boy mom, they move, they move, and a lot of times follow the girl's family. And that's just, what happens. My husband moved down here to Tennessee 14 hours away from his mom. And, that was hard. And I understand it now a little bit better. But whenever you think, I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. The things I've learned at CR is just to be happy in the moment, and to enjoy every moment, and to not be like, well, that's not fair. So what? It doesn't matter. When you look at fairness, it's just, I don't know, it just poisons your perspective. I was having a conversation with some kids the other day, and we got to talking about these deep conversations we get into. Some of my African American students, we got to talking about racial issues, and they know I come from a family that's dealt with it since 1978. And so I've got a different perspective than a lot of people because I've seen how it's changed and how it's not changed in some ways. And so I can speak to it a little bit differently, but I told him, I said, the most important thing you've got to understand is even if somebody's done something to you, and I mean, not just in a racial issue, but in any issue in life, if you have been done wrong, you can allow that to poison you or you can allow it to refine you. The things we struggle through will make us so much stronger and so much better if we will let it and let God do that work. All things work for good for those who love the Lord, but not all things are good. But He will work all things for good if you will let Him. That's the point of that. And I just love that illustration because, there's some hard things that, we have to go through sometimes, but if we will let those refine us and not define us, then we're going to come out on the other side so much better. But, just kind of keep all those things in mind. And if you need help with that, come and join us at Celebrate Recovery. It is a beautiful thing. Oh, I know there was a little illustration I've shared before. I want to share this again because I think it's beautiful and I have time. So, Bobby Davis out at Cookville at Life Church. I've shared this before, but I think it's beautiful in the sense that it illustrates so well the life struggles we have. He said, we used this actually at Celebrate Recovery not too long ago because I said it just painted such a beautiful picture of trying to overcome the hurts of life, right? And he said, what if I were driving down the road and I'm driving completely within the defines of what the law tells me to do. I'm not speeding. I'm not doing anything wrong. And I go through a traffic light and I'm going just exactly as I should. And somebody runs the traffic light and they hit me and they absolutely do tons of damage to me, to my car and all the things. And I'm not at fault at all. And rather than trying to move on from that, I go around everywhere I go for 10 years and say, look what they did to my car. Look what they did to my car. Look what they did. Look what they did. And he said, that's one way that some people deal with things that happen in life. It's not your fault. He says, but it becomes your problem. Just because somebody hurt you and it wasn't your fault doesn't mean that you don't have to deal with the fact that it is a problem now. So he said, so you've got that one choice you can make. You can go around and say, look what they did. Look what they did. He said, or you can go and get it fixed and get it repaired and move on from it. And he said that, there's really three types of people. There's the ones that go around and say, look at what they did. Look what they did. There's the ones that go around and they say, okay, I've been hurt. So I want you to see what it feels like. And so they start running over you. And he says, and then there's that third one that goes and looks for healing and repair. And you go to a body shop. And he goes and he relates that to the body of Christ for the body shop. And I just thought that that was really profound and beautiful. And I just thought that was a really good illustration of what we do at Celebrate Recovery are the hurts, habits, and hangups of life. You can allow them to define you, or you can let them refine you and get beyond them and, see what God can do in your life. So, with all that said, just come to Celebrate Recovery. We just had the big anniversary last week for Madison Church of Christ. I know Northfield Church just had their big anniversary. I would love to have been a part of it, but I had stuff going all weekend. But they had Johnny Baker come in. His father's the one who started Celebrate Recovery. So they had just an amazing celebration. And I know, and again, Epiphany had their 3-year celebration about 6 weeks ago. So there are all kinds of things. There is an app you can download. If you want to be a part of Celebrate Recovery, you can download the app and it will show you all the different locations. And there's within, I'd say, a 50-mile radius, there's probably a CR every single night other than Sunday. They always kind of leave Sunday open because they invite you to go and be a part of a body of believers, a part of a congregation, because we all need that. That's where I kind of started off talking about what we did with our congregation this weekend. We had just so much fun. It was just such a blessing. But as we continue on, let's go ahead and let's talk about one of our sponsors. I want to talk about Veterans Motorplex. Coming up on the end of their season, guys. I will get a hold of Jerry. I'll just make a point to make sure I get a hold of Jerry this weekend. or today and find out about all the specifics of the details of this weekend, because I believe that we may only have one more weekend of racing. So if you want to be a part of the racing community, sometimes he'll extend it into November, just that first weekend, if maybe they get rained out, because they've had some rainouts. They've had some races that they were unable to do. So it might be that we're going to extend another week, but just to be safe, get on out there this weekend and be a part of what they have going on at Veterans Motorplex. You'll be so glad that you got out there. Jerry is just a great guy. They have so much fun. And there's just so much going on out on the racetrack. If you want to find out a little bit more about the racing community, I also want to advise you to go and check out Bubba About Broke. I love talking about that because our friend Caleb Stratton is a part of that. And it's a lot of fun. It's talking about, the cost, of course, of being in the racing community, and it's locals that have a lot of fun. So you'll find out more about Bubba About Broke if you go to Veterans Motorplex. But if you want to follow them on the page, it's Highland Rim Speedway. Highland gave them their first job. But looking over here at Bubba About Broke, they're going to have a show come up tonight it's going to feature baby grand driver Kalis Dallas. Baby grand driver Kalis Dallas. I guess I'm saying that name right. But that's on Bubba About Broke tonight. You'll be able to check that out and find out more about the racing community and all the things happening at our Veterans Motorplex. This is Old Highland Rim Speedway. A $40 ticket will get up to 6 kids and 2 adults in for one price. A $40 ticket, you can't beat it. What a great deal and a great time. If you want to find out more, call 615-643-8725, 615-643-8725, or just pop in over there on Saturday, 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier, 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. Be sure and let them know that you turned Cincha and just go and have fun, enjoy that concession stand, good food and good times, and follow them on Highland Rim Speedway for Veterans Motorplex and help them, kind of finish up the year in a very big way. It's going to be a good time, and I hope to see you out there on Saturday night. Gates will open at 4. Racing starts at 6 p.m., and we'll go into about 9 p.m., and you'll have a good time, I promise you. Okay, so guys, here's what's going on this morning. Since we reached out to Bill Jones, he was unable to come in as well. So I want to continue to unpack all the things that are going on in the community. We've got, of course, Lacey Bew is going to come in hopefully Thursday and talk about the Willow Oak concert series that's going to be happening and the things that they're going to do at their new facility. They're going to have a Christmas concert, of course. We have got the Christmas sampler coming up, and it is coming up quickly. We had them on last week talking about all the things with the Christmas sampler. That is happening next weekend. It'll be Friday night and Saturday. And then, as they were telling us, if you want to be able to get some of those highly sought after items that they'll have for sale on Friday night, that cinnamon bread, if you want that, she says you got to be at the door ready to go in when the door unlocks, because in about 15 minutes, it's going to be gone. So they've got all kinds of wonderful things happening at the Christmas sampler, and that's next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, and then all day Saturday. A $10 ticket on Friday night will get you in on Saturday. The Saturday tickets, I think, are $5. And just a wonderful time. They gave away a bunch of tickets, and if you were one of our winners, remember those tickets will be at will call at the door. Yes, it is. Let's see. The tickets on Saturday is a $5 ticket. But the doors will open, let me see if it's on the ticket here. I think I'm wanting to say about 9 o'clock on Saturday, the doors open. But you can go and enjoy the Christmas sampler. It's going to be a big time, and I know that you will find some wonderful stuff for Christmas. And then they'll have, I put up on my Facebook page last week, the quilt that they're giving away. They've got the little, if you get your tickets from the sampler, they have got this little thing you can fill out at the top, and you drop that in the drawing, and you'll be registered for their Christmas quilt or their fall quilt. And it's I wanted to say, she said it was like I forget. It was it's based on a city grid, and I forget which one she said, but it's really cool, and there's a lot of fun things happening. So we got Christmas sampler coming up. We of course going to have the Christmas parade for Springfield is happening on the 2nd of December this year. They've moved it. We always were the the first Christmas parade in the area because there's so many cities in our county and everybody wants to have a Christmas parade. So for a while, we were the first one. They have moved it now to coincide with the opening of the Winter Wonderland that happens at Travis Price Park. So on December 2nd, you're going to have the Christmas parade, and then you can go over to Travis Price, and it will be a walkthrough night. And that will be wonderful. It will be so much fun. If you have missed our Christmas parades the last few years, they started this post-COVID to have it at night and put lights on the floats. Well, it gets better every year, and it is so much fun. Our downtown square is so picturesque and beautiful. I mean, that's why everybody comes and makes movies here and video and music videos, is because it's so picturesque and beautiful, and you can just imagine it at Christmas. So if you're new, you do not want to miss our Christmas parade on the 2nd of December. Now, I think the Saturday prior to that, it's the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving, we are going to have our Christmas on the Square, the chamber. We'll get Jordan in to come in and completely unpack all those details. We are also going to have, of course, trick or treat on the Square on Halloween. So if you want to bring the kiddos out and go around from businesses, I think from about 11 till 4, they're going to be welcoming trick-or-treaters on the downtown square. So we encourage you to do that. If you've got some little ones that are in school, as soon as you get them out of school, hit the downtown square and then you can go out and do your trick-or-treating. But that's going to be happening on Halloween. So we've got all those kinds of things coming up and just tons of stuff. All the churches are doing trunk or treats. Oh my goodness. If you'll go around just kind of and watch the marquees out in front of the churches, you'll find all the different ones. I know that when we talked to Jack Martin from Greenridge Church, they have stuff going on all the time. And seems like he told me they were doing one actually on Halloween as well. But then I saw a marquee said something about a different day that they had something going on. But just follow up with the churches if you want to have something fun for your family to do. There's stuff everywhere that you can be a part of as we get on into the season with fall and Christmas and all the things. It's going to be great. And Thanksgiving, I talk a lot about how that we like to look at Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's as a trilogy of holidays. And I got this from Glenn when I was working over at the Blaze. But Glenn is big on the holidays. He just loves them. And he started this, probably 10 years ago, at least, really focusing on the holiday trilogy. He says, you go into Thanksgiving, he goes, be intentional and be thankful to God for all the things that you are blessed with and all the beauty and the wonder and just the amazement of it. But be thankful. So often it's just about let's get together and let's eat. And we forget to bring that true moment of Thanksgiving into our family. And he says, and then you launch into remembering the miracle of God coming and being with us through Jesus Christ and that birth and just the amazement of all that. And I encourage you to go and check out the Bama podcast and all the things that they talk about the birth of Christ, because I think we've made it so what it's not. And just remember think about Mary and what she went through as a very young girl and having that brought before her. And she was like, yeah. And I can't imagine how the community probably treated her. There's a movie that they mentioned in the Bama podcast called The Nativity that came out probably 15 years ago. And they say it probably depicts what the story would have really been like better than any. And so I'm going to be real intentional about that. I know Bodie and Brock Taney, if you've ever read the Taney series on the life of Christ, they have about a 3-book series that talks about that. And it's probably, I can't tell you for sure which number in the series about Christ, but it's probably about 5, maybe 4, 5, and 6. Books 4, 5, and 6 in that series is all about the birth. And man, if you want a good read, that's a real good one to pick up and read. And just remember that, we talk about the birth of Christ, and we don't do it in the way it really. I mean, we just don't remember the things that we know from Scripture, that we know from historical fact, that would have been that Mary and Joseph would have been facing as a couple that had a pregnancy that happened too quickly. from their marriage. And so it's just, I can't even imagine what that community went through. And so go and, check out those books about the Taneys, check out the Nativity, and go listen to Bama and everything he has to say, Marty Solomon has to say about the birth of Christ. And I think there's a lesson you can also look up. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but so go from Thanksgiving to the birth and the miracle of all that, and just, kind of bask in the joy of that new birth that we have through Jesus. And then the renewal of the new year and that new chance, and how we're all made new every single day, if we want to be, in Jesus Christ. And every day you can wake up and be made new if you just accept it. And it's just that easy, guys. It's so funny. I have these conversations with people all the time about the state of the world right now. And if you are looking for peace within empire, then it seems a little bit, it seems a little depressing. But if you find peace in the shalom that God offers and that you have through Jesus Christ, then it's like, okay, we're good. It's so funny. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about, what I believe happens at that moment when we go from this life to the next. And I said, I believe my eternity has already started. And my life may end here on this earth, and then he may come, and I don't have to go through that. But when I step from here to there, that's just, my eternity changing places, because my eternity began when I accepted Jesus Christ. And there's such an incredible peace in that. I mentioned empire and shalom. That is one of the keys of everything I've been studying, from Christy McClellan to Marty Solomon to Ray Vander Laan. It's like looking at the story of God from the perspective of looking above it and seeing it from beginning to end. And it's just this amazing. I was listening to an interview this morning with a woman who described it as being a literary masterpiece, what we have, the Bible, and the beauty of it all. And I could say so much more about that, but I could go down a real deep rabbit hole here. But the beauty of this literary masterpiece that unpacks the story of God in such a way to invite us all into it. And you can choose to either have the journey to empire, or you can live in shalom. There's the verse that where Christ talks about the narrow gate and the wide gate. And I just talk about this all the time because it's an invitation for people to walk that narrow gate to life eternal that you can start walking right now. And where Christ talks about few that there'll be few that find it, so few are going to really find that peace in this life. And that is such a sad thing. There's so many joys and wonders and amazing things of this life that people just take for granted. They're like, oh, I'm just toiling through. Well, you don't have to. You can live in joy. You can live in peace. You can live in the complete joy and peace and shalom of God, or you can follow empire, and you can put your faith in all the things that we think we can do through the political candidates we support. And I'm not going to go there, but really, I talk a lot about how my journey changed when I was talking to Shannon Baumgartner, bless her sweetheart. She came in bebopping one day, and she was just full of joy, and I was absolutely beside myself and just stressing out over what was going to happen to our country. And when I set it aside and I quit looking at that stuff, and I stay up to date, boy. I want to know what's going on. I follow what's happening. I'm praying over everything that's going on with the wars right now. And I mean wars, we've got what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Israel. We've got war happening right now, and be praying over God's victory in all of this, not man's, but God's victory in all this and what he's going to do with this. Remember, all things work for the good for those that love the Lord, but all things aren't good, and war is not good. It's heartbreaking. And in all of it, there's innocent loss, and it's just heartbreaking. So I pay very close attention to that, but I don't dwell on it. I move on. And the reason why I've been able to do that is because I wake up every morning. I give God the first fruits. We don't even have TV right now. We just, if we want to see something, we stream it. We have great internet. I'm about to talk about Cumberland Connect. Can you tell? Because everybody goes through streaming services now. I can pretty much find anything that I really want to watch, and just, sometimes I have to pay a fee, maybe pay, a couple of bucks to watch a movie or something, but then I can stream it because I have this amazing high-speed internet through Cumberland Connect. But I've turned off all the network stuff, and it's been really kind of funny. I don't really miss it. Every now and then, I kind of think, oh, I want to turn, but then I get busy with something else. I go and study something, and I again don't miss it that much. And so I don't know, y'all. Just find your peace, find your shalom, and quit turning on the things of empire that just keep us all in knots, and just trust God in all of it. Let's talk about our sponsor, Cumberland Connect. I'm really anxious to get Kerry Robertson here on Halloween next week, when Kerry normally would be here today, but he had some conflicts. So Kerry will be in, Senator Kerry Roberts will be in on Tuesday next week on Halloween to see if he's gotten Cumberland Connect yet. They were getting very, very close. We joke around how they did not play favorites when your state senator's one of the very last ones to get it. Then well, they truly went to the underserved first. They reached out and they're like, okay, where are the communities that just don't have decent internet? I know up on Hoods Branch Road, where so many of my friends live, they were one of the first to get access to Cumberland Connect because, Gwen Harder, her speeds were like 1.5 uploads that she had through AT&T. I'm sorry, AT&T. I got friends that work there. I love you dearly, but y'all let us down. I had a 3.5 upload speed, and I was paying $60 a month for just terrible internet. And then Cumberland Connect came knocking on my door. I was so excited. It was so funny because I saw the lines out on the pole, and I called them. I said, now? And they said, yes, when do you want us to come? And so they came in and hooked it up, and it's been just awesome. We still haven't got those extenders out in our barn. We had them come out and look at it, and they evaluated it, and they said, we can put the extender in, and it'll bounce around out there, and you might get it out in the shop where we're wanting it, because my husband's workshop, we would like to have, he had to come in this morning at, I don't think he was out working on his truck. I'm wanting to say at like 5 a.m. and he had to come in and use the internet because we haven't extended it out there. And all you have to do is we can put a conduit in the ground and run the wires out there to the barn, and we'll have internet as good in the barn as we have in the house. And it's like $5-10 a month to add that. That's nothing. For $80, you get a gig, and you'll have the same extended out to the outbuildings. It's incredible. It is a great deal. I can't say enough about Cumberland Connect and how nice they are and wonderful to work with, the customer service. When you call, you're going to get somebody local. It's 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362, or you can go to cumberlandconnect.org, put in your zip code. It'll tell you exactly when to expect them to come knocking on your door, and they may already be there. But if you're also one of those that you're like, $80, that's a lot. Well, they've got different packages. They've got packages starting at just $30 per month, by the way, guys. And if you're somebody that's struggling financially, because it's a utility, they have the Affordable Connectivity Program. It provides qualifying households with monthly credit to help pay for internet services. And if you're eligible, you could receive a credit of up to $30 per month toward broadband services. It's that simple. And it is that wonderful. Cumberland Connect, we're so thankful that they're one of our sponsors. Again, go and check them out, cumberlandconnect.org, or give them a call, 1-800-987-2362. Let them know that U-Turn sent you. As we're continuing on with the show, yes, it's just me today. Don't you love it whenever I'm just going to run my mouth? I have a lot of things I want to say. I've always got some kind of little Bible lesson going that I could share with you. But I do want to make sure you're fully aware of all the things going on in the community. There's a lot going on. We've already unpacked that. Steve Hemphill, this is Steve Hemphill week here in Robertson County. And so you're going to see him popping up all over the place. He's going to be at Fluellen on Wednesday night at 6:30. He is going to be here in studio with us on Wednesday. The Go Show happens on Wednesday. Lee Marie comes in at 8 after I finish up from 7 to 8. And so she messaged me and said, hey, Steve is going to be in town. Do you want to have him on the show? And I'm like, absolutely. Especially with Halloween coming up, guys. I always kind of like to check in with him on what is typical of being one of the dark holidays, like Friday the 13th. And none of that stuff bothers me because I don't give it any credence at all. And I don't really celebrate Halloween. I don't. I talked to my students the other day. I said, honestly, when we did the 9/11 memorial, and I said, I really haven't done much with Halloween since. And I guess it just felt wrong after 9/11 and to even think about bringing that darkness in. And I got to be honest with you too. We've got. I love the folks of Adams. All the stuff with the Bell Witch, though, I just can't Can't hang my hat with it. I don't like all of that. I think it's inviting to darkness in that we just don't need. And there's a history behind the legend of the Bell Witch that has been morphed into something very spiritually creepy. And I mean, and I don't want to invite that in. I was one of these people that whenever I was a kid, just like a lot of people, I went to haunted houses and all those kinds of things. And then all of a sudden it just kind of had this foreboding to me. I won't go near your haunted house. I went and spent the night in the Bell Witch Cave. It was a radio stunt. Phil Valentine, Terry Hopkins, and myself. It was right after I married. And we spent the night in the Bell Witch Cave just as a stunt, as a little joke. And we've made a lot of silliness of that over the years, but Phil had a little story he used to tell about it, but God bless him. We won't be hearing that one anymore. But so, I mean, I get it. I have one of my little, I write. I was talking to them at the short story club the other day. One of the things that I write that are short stories is I have a series called The Po-Billy Boys. And it's my husband, he's Bohemian, but there's kind of a Polish element to his family heritage. And I've always been kind of called a hillbilly because I'm from Kentucky. And even though I'm in the area that's flat, if you're Kentucky or Tennessee, you're a hillbilly, or it used to be back in the day. So we called our kids Po-Billies. And so I wrote a little children's series called The Po-Billy Boys, and there's one called Ghost in the Graveyard. And it was based upon a story that my papa used to tell me. And a lot of ghost stories were told, and it's not really a ghost story, it's just a case of mistaken identity. But a lot of ghost stories years ago were done to control people who worked for you, keeping them from wandering off. And I'm talking about the slave population. And I talked with Mr. Tim Henson about this. He said that a lot of things that people would attribute to the occult were stories that were told to slaves to keep them from wandering off in the darkness. And because a lot of them believed in things that were, in that realm. And all you got to do is go down to New Orleans and look at all the voodoo and all of that kind of stuff. And some of this stuff coming out of these tribal areas where some of the slaves were brought from, they believed this stuff. And honestly, the demonic element of it, and Steve Hemphill will talk to you about this whenever people say, well, there's something that happened. Well, I had a conversation, the kids were asking me the other day if I believed in ghosts and goblins and demons and all that. I said, I absolutely believe in the spiritual realm. I believe there's a battle going on between good and evil. And Steve will talk more about that when he comes in on Wednesday. But as we go into these times where we seem to open up our homes to it and bring that darkness in, I'm like, I love harvest pumpkins. And my friend Paul Rainey's on here, his beautiful bride, Mary, they were decorating for a bridal shower yesterday, and all of it was her fall decor. It's all, it's pumpkins and fall leaves and beautiful candles. And I love all that, but, I don't want nothing to do with the dark stuff. And, I've told my students that I said, don't even bring that mess in my house. I don't want a witch's hat. I don't want none of that stuff. Because I just think it's just kind of a nod to it. And so I'm very much one that does not embrace the dark side of Halloween. The fun part of it, dress up and have some fun. And, my grandkids last year dressed up as the characters from Mario, and they were super cute. And I love all that. And my husband, we're working on a costume for him. You will see. It's fun. But so I love that part of it. If you can have some fun with it, but get the darkness out of it. So, I don't know. I love you, Adams, Tennessee. I really do. I just wish y'all could embrace the history side of it and not this, the occult of it. And, people will talk about traveling in Europe or someplace and something will be mentioned about Adams, Tennessee, and they'll say the Bell Witch. And, I don't want to be known for that personally, but I don't know how to tell you to fix it, guys, but I don't know. But anyway, with all that going on, I just say, celebrate fall, celebrate the beautiful colors and all of those things, but see about, stepping away from the dark side of it and bringing the light into it. Look at the history of some of these things that have gone on. some of these hauntings and maybe look for the spiritual aspect of it and see if maybe there's not more to it that might be demonic. I'm just saying. Steve will talk more about that on Wednesday. It will be fascinating, I promise you. If you've not checked out Steve Hemphill, go and look him up before he comes on Wednesday. It'll blow your mind, some of the stuff he brings up. It is quite interesting and just, I don't know. It will change the way you understand this stuff. Frank Peretti, too, is another one. If you want to understand and kind of imagine what the spiritual realm might be about, Frank Peretti writes some wonderful books that are fiction, but they're really, really good reads and will kind of help you, maybe wrap your head around some of the things that could be going on in the heavenlies. I'm going to pause for a second and talk about Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. My friends, they are just a wonderful asset to the community. If you've not made a visit with the Corbins, make a point to do that. Go out and see them. This is a great time. I talk about perennials. It's so funny. The people who will be sitting in here and I say, well, did you know that mums are perennials? And they're like, really? I did not know. I thought they were just something pretty I put on my porch and forget to water and then they die and I throw them away. Well, if you will keep them watered, even after those buds, stop budding, if you'll keep them watered, after they've, lived their beauty for your porch or your fall decor, go and plant them in the ground and they will come back next year. And Amy can talk to you about how you keep them topped out so that they bloom exactly when you want. I passed a house one day. It was like they had this quilt of beautiful color, fall color with all the different colors of mums. And they're in all kinds of colors. But Amy can talk to you about how to do that and make that look wonderful. Their hours, as they get into the cold weather hours, will be 10 to 4, Monday through Friday, and Sunday from 1 to 4. You can stop by and talk to her about all the things going on in your garden. Now is the time to prepare for next year. Now is the time to get your perennials planted. Now is the time to get your garden ready. As you're finishing up with your vegetable garden, you can go in and make sure that you've got everything cleaned out, everything tilled, because whenever we get through Christmas and New Year's, in just a minute, pretty much like mid-February, that's the time to start planting English peas, the cold weather vegetables that you're going to want, lettuces and those kinds of things. You plant those early. So get your garden ready now so when you get through the holidays, you can get that stuff in the ground and, man, you will be ahead of the game. Maybe you want to put in a greenhouse. A lot of people are putting in greenhouses now, and so that way they can be the first out of the gate with fresh tomatoes and all those kinds of things. Amy can help you with all that. Miss Jane, she's there to help as well. Just fascinating family, wonderful family. Go in the store while you're there and check out all the gift items that they have. They will have wonderful things that Miss Jane has made. I love her pot holders. I just won't use any other. They're just perfect. They're the perfect size. They're just perfect. And she's got the little bowl cozies. Everybody needs these because we all have those things that we stick in the microwave and they get too hot. Well, you can put them in this and put it in the microwave and you take it out and it doesn't burn your hands. They've also got the CBD products. I can't say enough about it. They have a headache salve that we're letting the kiddos use because, some kids, my mother talked about having sick headaches when she was little. My grandson's having some of the issues. Tiffany Thompson, one of her daughters, is having some issues. It's like you don't want to give your kids a lot of meds. Well, this is a headache salve that we've been putting on the kids' temples, and it's working. It's helping. And I can't say enough about this natural product that's produced from plants that her brother Bill grows. Go and check it out today. Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center, longtime sponsors of this program, good friends of this program in Springfield. And when you go by there, please let them know that you turned Cincha. Can you believe it's nearly 5 till and I hadn't stopped talking? And I haven't really even gotten on I wanted to unpack something for you and I just had so many other things. It's like I'll start talking and I'll think, oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, that. But I've got a Bible study that I'm just really anxious to share with you all, and I'll unpack it at some point. And I got it from the Bama Discipleship, Marty Solomon, and also Ray Vanderlaan. They unpack this. But as we look at the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, if you've been in Bible studies, I went to Lipscomb and Freed-Hardeman, so I have been in a lot of Bible classes. And a lot of those classes will talk about how we try to harmonize the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Well, some people who do not believe and they try to find fault with God's story, and they'll say, well, your Gospels don't even match. And why does, Matthew say this and then Luke say this and what's wrong here? And the way that they've tried to harmonize those through the years is to say, well, one was writing and remembered it this way, and the other one, because the illustration I've had, if 4 or 5 of us were to witness something and then write our own narrative, they're going to vary to some degree, because there's going to be things I noticed that you didn't notice and vice versa. And so that's how they've kind of explained how to harmonize it. And I've watched all kinds of things. It's like, well, it could be this way and it could be that way. But man, when I listened to Marty the first time I heard this, talking about how that they're not exactly the same because they were written to different audiences. Oh my goodness. It is amazing. Matthew was written to, and you can unpack all this at the Bama podcast. I forget exactly which episode, but it's in, I want to say session 3, I think. And he'll talk about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And Matthew was written to the Jewish people. They call them mumsers. Mumser was the ones who didn't fit in, like Matthew, who was a tax collector, like the people who, like Mary Magdalene, all these people. And if you look at the genealogy that Matthew wrote, that's exactly who he's pointing to, Rahab and all the people that are in there that, number one, women would have never been mentioned in a genealogy at that time. And he says it's written to the Jewish people, and he also believes it was written in Hebrew, and Ray Vanderlaan, I believe, does as well. And that's another conversation. But Matthew was written to the Jewish people to say the Messiah's here, and he's not what you were thinking. He's not what you were expecting. And then Mark wrote to, he uses it this way. He does this illustration. He says, it's almost like Mark said, man, I like what you wrote, Matthew, but the Romans are never going to read that. And so he wrote the gospel to the Romans, and there's all kinds of evidence to point to that. Luke then, Dr. Luke, came in and wrote one that was supposed to be a companion to what was read in synagogue of Torah. And again, that's a long explanation, and I don't have time because I'm almost out of time. And then John was written to a grafted people because he was the pastor of Asia, and he had to deal with them all. And so it was written specifically to all of them. And there's so much. Man, it's a good one. You ought to go listen to that. It is so good. But I'm going to have to wrap it up. I've got to go ahead and talk about my friends, Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. There's all kinds of ways you can get in touch with them. Of course, we don't want to neglect to give out Rebecca's phone number, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425, or remind you to go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy.robertsoncounty.com to find them. You can just Google them, guys. Go Barry Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Go Rebecca Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate team. What you're going to find, if you go Rebecca with Garden Gate, you're going to find with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team, you're going to get a Facebook page and a web page. You're going to find out all about her. And there's going to be a search engine where you can put in the zip code that you want, the things you're looking for. Maybe you're wanting to sell property and you want to see, what are they getting and how should I price it? And you want to do some, research before you approach a realtor about it. Well, you can do all that from her webpage, and you're going to find out about her. Same thing with Barry. You go to his webpage, Barry Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate team. You're going to find out all about him. There's a marketing link right there, talks about his marketing background, which is just, brilliant, really, in the real estate community to have somebody that understands marketing. He was the vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years. So he knows all that and can make sure that your property is seen in the best light with the videography and the photography and the drone footage and the virtual reality walkthrough tour. All those things. But you're going to learn about them. You're going to also learn that they work together, but they're separate brokers. He's the broker here in Springfield. They have a Springfield office on Downtown Square. And then she is the broker out of White House. And just a great couple to work with. They've dealt with historic properties, businesses, and residential, all the things. Great friends of this program and the community. Reach out to them if you need help in real estate, whether you're buying or selling. Maybe you want to be a realtor. They would love to mentor you into the real estate community. Sellwithbecky.com or by BUYRobertsCounty.com. Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Please always let them know that U-Turn sent you, y'all. It's 8 o'clock already. Oh my goodness. I got to go to school and teach the kids, and it's my pleasure to do so. Active Faith is the place where you can go and find out more about Steve Hemphill. active-faith.org. Active-faith.org is where you can find out more about Steve Hemphill. He will be here on Wednesday. You're going to be at Fluellen Wednesday night. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be fascinating, especially with Halloween coming up. Get us ready to deal with all that darkness and to say no to it and be the light. Be a bright light. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. This is 1100 WSGI.